Hi there, my name's Alex Roberts and I am the Head of Procurement for the OSL group of companies. We specialise in everything from cutting tools manufactured right here in Sheffield to security systems for buildings and spring suspension used in classic cars and agricultural vehicles. I personally have been specialising in purchasing in businesses for over 8 years now, and despite studying business at GCSE, A-level and even at university degree level, purchasing, procurement, it's never really brought up very often, but the importance of it in the real world is significant because it's important to have some kind of control over what your business is spending money on and ensuring that you get best value for that money. So the first step to effective sourcing of products is defining the need. What does the business actually need? What is the product you're going to try and source? Because if you don't understand what it looks like, then how can your supplier effectively supply it to you in the way that you want? So you need to break down, what does this product look like? What is the end vision? So is this made of multiple parts? Are you just sourcing one thing, or are you sourcing several parts that you're then going to assemble? Because this will affect whether you're going to go to one supplier or several suppliers, for instance. Now, what are the colours of these parts? What are the weight, the size? What are the shapes? Things like this can play an impact in how you would then get them to your customer. If you have to ship things, for instance, if things are much bigger and weigh a lot more, then that'll have an impact on what it might cost in terms of postage. Now, it may be that you have a rough idea of what these might be like, but perhaps you need to do some research into the market to really see what is possible. Otherwise, you might end up designing a concept for a product that doesn't exist and the market can't fulfill it. Or perhaps you make something that's incredibly expensive because there's nothing else produced quite like yours. So once you've determined what your product is, what it is that your business needs, you need to follow through on that in the most effective way possible. And you can do that by following what's called the 5 rights of purchasing. Now, those 5 rights are the right quantity, the right quality, the right place, the right time, and the right price. So let's look into those. So the first of the 5 rights you want to consider is going to be the quantity. Now, essentially, how many do you need? Now, this might initially be constrained by what your budget is. You can only buy as many as you can afford. But you might have to think about things that are relevant in terms of quantity. So for instance, if your product is part of multiple parts assembled into a finished product, make sure the quantities that you're buying are relevant. To explain what I mean, take a car for instance. If you want to make one car, you need 4 tyres and 1 steering wheel. If you bought the same quantity of all of your parts, you'll either have not enough tyres or you'll have too many steering wheels, and you'll end up wasting money in excess stock or not have enough stock. So it's important that your quantities that you're buying are relevant to what's required to make complete products. Another thing to consider is, do you need a couple extras in terms of spares, for instance? If this is something that's new to you, then you may go through a bit of a learning curve when you're assembling your parts and you could damage things. Perhaps you need some for testing. Maybe if they're small components, you might even lose some. So do you need a few spares just in case? And the final thing you want to consider is, how will you know that you've received the right quantity? Now, if you consider if you were getting something that was high volume but in small pieces, you don't want to have to count all of those. So how do you know that this package of bits that you've been supplied by your supplier is the right amount that you asked for? So you might consider things like weighing them. Does one part weigh X? Therefore, a full box should weigh X times the amount that I ordered, and it saves you counting multiple bits. So there are smart ways that you can check to ensure that you're getting the right quantity. So the second of your 5 rights of purchasing is that of quality. Now, what do good quality materials look like? In coming up with the concept of your product, you should know whether you're going for something really robust or something rather light, maybe even flimsy. You'll know what quality looks like, but what do your customers also think quality looks like to them? So there's something you need to work out there. Now, how do you test those products for that quality? If it's something that moves or is electrical, perhaps, have you designed a test for making sure that it does exactly what it's supposed to do on the tin, making sure what you've got is a quality product? And if it isn't, what kind of warranties or purchasing guarantees, price guarantees, money back guarantees does your supplier offer with those goods to make sure that your money is spent wisely? Finally, How is it packaged? I mean, it might look fantastic quality when it's leaving the factory or the supplier, but is it going to make it to you intact? Particularly if it's a fragile product, is it going to come to you intact and still be of sound quality? So these are some things you need to consider quality-wise. So the third of the 5 rights of purchasing is that of the right place. So you need to decide, where do you want these goods to go to? Your supplier is going to ask you where they're going to be delivered, and you need to be able to tell them. Otherwise, it's no good if you design the best product if it never actually shows up. So decide where you want it to go to ensure that it gets to you appropriately. So the fourth of the 5 rights of purchasing is that of time, the right time. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that you need to work out what is the appropriate delivery time for your goods. You might work this out by working backwards from, when do I need the products ready? So that means if I need this much time to prepare them in terms of packaging or assembly, that means I've got this much time from now to allow the products to arrive. So based on that, you can then decide that I've only got X amount of time to get the products into me, and that's the right amount of time. But the other side of that is, what can a supplier actually achieve? So when we're researching suppliers, you need to look out to them and say, when can you actually provide this to us? Because if you need it in 2 weeks and they can't do it in anything less than 4, then that supplier is just not right for you. So then maybe you can move along, or perhaps you can even refine your product to make sure that what you want is much easier for them to provide within the time frame that you need. Finally, you might want to build in a buffer for what you need, for the time that you're allotting to this. If you've got a 2-week window to do something, maybe work on only having 1 to 1.5 weeks. That way, if something goes wrong, as things inevitably do with these kind of ventures, you've got that little bit extra buffer, time to get things right and then it not impact the overall time scale of your business project. So consider what is the best time to get your product in. So the 5th and final right of the 5 rights of purchasing is that of the right price. Now this is the most important one because this is seeing how far your money will actually go. So some of the things you could check with your supplier when looking at the prices is, are there quantity price breaks? We're all familiar with offers in supermarkets for 3 for the price of 2, things like that. Is there something like that in place with your supplier, whereby if you needed 9 of a part, maybe you could get 10 of them and get a slightly cheaper price overall? Things like that make your money go a little bit further. So another thing you need to consider is, what is the cost of shipping those to you if it's not a local supplier? We all know when you buy something online, there's often the cost of postage as well. So really that should form part of the cost of the parts. So that's something you can build into the cost of your products when you're looking to source them and weigh them up against other supplier quotes you get. Speaking of quotes, as a general rule, you should try and get a minimum of 3 quotes from your suppliers. Don't go too many or you can be burdened with choice. But really, 3 quotes is a good balance to strike. Then you can see what high level looks like, what low cost looks like, and you can make sure you're getting a good deal looking at a wide spread of options. You could even use those quotes as leverage in negotiating with your suppliers if you can actually have those kind of conversations with them. You could say to one of them that's maybe not the cheapest one and say, I'm actually getting a cheaper deal elsewhere. Do you think you could lower your price to beat that? Sometimes a supplier might offer you a discount in order to get your business, and you could use that as leverage to get better prices. So we've determined what the product looks like, and then we've been through the 5 rights of purchasing to determine what we need in terms of the right quantity, the right quality, the right place, the right time, and the right price. So now that we've done that, we need to find suppliers who can adequately meet those requirements for us. So the best place to start is with desktop research. Now what I mean by that is searching on the internet for suppliers, be it on your desktop computer, laptop, tablet, even your mobile phone, anywhere where you can get on the internet. You can just search for suppliers that could possibly give you the products you're looking for. Now we always start there because it's free. We're carrying around these devices. We can look on the internet relatively easy. It's pretty quick. You've got access to a global market, so you're not just restricted to what's in walking distance of your house. You can see suppliers from all over the country, all over the globe if you want to. And the other benefit of searching online for suppliers is that you can look at reviews. So you can review that supplier for how good their quality is, how good their customer service is, how fast things arrive. But people also do reviews of the products as well. You can look on YouTube for some products and even see unboxing videos, see what things physically look like and see how people react to receiving them. So that's the key of the internet. So hopefully through your research, you'll be able to find a couple of suppliers that kind of fit the bill for what you're looking for. If they meet the 5 rights of purchasing, the right place, the right time, the right price, the right quality, and the right quantity, then congratulations. You've successfully sourced the product for your business and you're ready to move forward.